Ben Holland, what is different today in Taksim Square than what we've seen in the previous week?
Well, in the past week, we haven't seen any police in Taksim Square. There were big clashes there on the night of May the 31st when this whole thing really kicked off. And then again, to some extent, on the following day. But after that, for a week, Taksim Square was entirely devoid of police and was turned into a big sort of rock festival type scene. So today is very different from that. Today, the police have come in and they've removed some of the barricades. They've removed a lot of the banners that were hanging on buildings there, and they've clashed with the protesters.
What is the support for the protesters in other cities of Turkey? Is this just about Istanbul this morning, or are other towns and cities involved?
I think there have already been some demonstrations in Ankara against this. In fact, there have been demonstrations in Ankara throughout the past 10 days. They started there at the same time as they did in Istanbul. And I think later today and this evening, as people get a chance to see the footage of what's happened in Taksim, I would expect to see protests in many Turkish cities.
And Ben, as we understand, you yourself have been there in the square and experienced some of the tear gas. Talk about what's going on.
Well, yes, I was there for about 5 hours this morning. It initially seemed as if the police were trying to avoid confrontation with the protesters in a way that they didn't a week ago. And they had a guy with a megaphone saying, "We're not here to fight you, we're here to remove the barriers." But it didn't work out that way. Clearly, there were groups of protesters who got involved in clashes, and then after about 3 or 4 hours, it was just like the mayhem of the first couple of days, with tear gas everywhere, bricks being chucked, plastic bullets. I saw plastic bullets fired too.
A question we asked in Egypt, not to compare the two, but the separation of the army from the police. What is the distinction between the police and the army in Turkey this morning?
They're entirely distinct, and the army has absolutely no involvement in any of the policing actions that have happened over the past 10 days here. The army, as you know, in Turkey was very much opposed to the current government, and there was a power struggle between them over the years, which the government seems to have pretty much won, and now the army's involvement in political questions is much less than it used to be, and everything that's gone on in Taksim is entirely a police matter.